Yeah. Thanks for coming back, everybody. Yo, let me start off by saying this. I don't usually like to get into pop culture stuff. And the reason for that is that I figure that there are like thousands of other podcasts that are covering all of those pop culture things. So when I'm thinking about topics to talk about on this joint, they're usually a little bit more obscure, a little bit more off the beaten path, that kind of thing. Now, with all of that said, I don't know that thousands of other podcasts are covering things that I avoid, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Because honestly, I don't really listen to other dating and relationship podcasts. Not that I have anything against them or anything like that. It's more like I don't want to be subconsciously influenced by someone's style or perspective or anything like that. So I stay in my own little bubble and focus on what I like to focus on, and that works out for me. Anyway, today I'm kind of getting out of that bubble because I want to spend a little time talking about this whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard stuff. And I feel safe in saying that this has been fodder for many podcasts, even though I don't know it for fact. I think it's pretty safe to say that, yeah, I'm not the only one that's talking about this or has been talking about this. I haven't talked about it before. Um, but it does fall into the category of relationships, and it does involve people that fit into the demographic of this podcast. I mean, Johnny Depp is 58 years old, so that kind of puts him smack in the middle of the demographic of this podcast. And actually his birthday is June 9th. So depending on when you listen to this or watch this or however you consume this, you could be 59 years old. Yeah. June 9th also means he's a Gemini, by the way. And if you're a listener to this podcast, you know how I feel about Geminis. And if you're not a regular listener to this podcast, I'll just tell you that I think Geminis are insane. And I don't mean that to be insulting, but I'm sure it does come across as insulting. But yeah, if you've ever dated a Gemini, you know what I'm talking about, unless you're a Gemini yourself. Even if you're a Gemini yourself and you've dated Geminis, you got to admit, Gemini is a little weird. A little weird. No, weird is not the way to put it, because weird, there's an endearing quality about being weird. Anyway, let me get off Geminis. I know too many of them. I have too many of them as friends that, yeah, that will, want to talk to me about this after they hear this. But going back to Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, I actually first heard about these two and their drama from Reggie. Yes, that Reggie. He actually mentioned it on an episode of this podcast back in the day before he had his whole social anxiety and went into his cave and all of that stuff and refused to come out. And the thing about it is, when he was talking about it, because he's a self-proclaimed woman hater, he readily admits that he was screaming about how she was crazy back then. And because I had no idea of what was going on between the two of them, and honestly, I really didn't care much. I just kind of brushed it off when Reggie was talking about it as like some kind of standard woman hating rant that he goes on, or that he went on to. Go back and listen to those first 50 episodes if you really want to get the vibe of what Reggie, of who Reggie was when it comes to women. And then tell 50 friends to tell 50 friends about it too, while you're at it, after you get the vibe. Yeah. And like I said before, honestly, I didn't even know who she was. Since then, I mean, I Googled her and realized that she was in several movies that I had seen before, like the Aquaman flick, which was whack, but I do remember her in it considering she was the co-star. She's an actress, by the way, in case you didn't glean that from what I had already said about it. Now, with that said, I was and am familiar with Johnny Depp, though. I mean, I was watching him on 21 Jump Street when I was a kid. So mm, it's a little bit of a stretch to say I was a fan, but I was familiar with him. And I have to say, he was in some movies that were the truth. Edward Scissorhands, that was a great movie. It was a great movie. Talk about weird. But yeah, and that was really weird, but it was weird and good. And he was in several other good movies too, at least movies that I enjoyed. Yeah. But with all of that said, I didn't know that dude had gotten married, and I honestly really didn't care. And even when I started seeing more and more stories about this lawsuit, I still resisted getting dragged into that mess which is kind of weird considering that's all that I talk about on these podcast episodes. So it's weird that I was so hesitant to get drug into that particular relationship mess when I kind of live to get drug into relationship messes. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about people getting killed. So why is this one so like, ooh, don't touch that? That's neither here nor there, though. But yeah, I guess I didn't really get into it though because I didn't really, I didn't find any nuance to it. It just pretty much seemed straightforward, like a boy hates girl, girl hates boy story. It didn't seem like it was anything special about it. But as more people started asking me about it and it became more and more of a staple on CNN, I kind of got sucked in. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Okay, let me backtrack a little bit. So, for those of you that don't know the story, I am here to enlighten you. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, Johnny and Amber got married at 2015. Or did I mention that they had gotten married? I definitely didn't mention they had gotten married in 2015. Either way, they got married in 2015. They got divorced in 2017. So they were far away from the 15 to 20-year requirement that I use to speak about people when they get divorced. So that's one reason I didn't mention when they got divorced, because they had only been married for 2 years. I mean, shoot, 2 years, they didn't even get to know each other. But then they got divorced in 2017 and 2018. Amber wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post, and it was entitled, quote, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. Yee. That was the title of it. So yeah, that's going to be drama. But in the op-ed, she spoke about violence on more of a general level before narrowing it down to some of her personal experiences. And while she didn't mention Johnny Depp by name in the piece, it really didn't take a rocket scientist to deduce that she was probably talking about dude. And with that said, we always give rocket scientists a whole lot more credit than they probably deserve. We just assume that rocket scientists, if you're a rocket scientist, you must know everything, when really all you probably really know about is about rocket science. So to expect a rocket science to be able to deduce this stuff, let's give them a little bit too much credit, or her a little bit too much credit. But it seems like that's the thing that we always say. But anyway, does anybody even know a rocket scientist? I mean, I don't know. I need to ask Reggie. Reggie, you know a rocket scientist? I mean, you do work for NASA and all. Well, he's not saying anything, so I'll just move on. That's neither here nor there. Either way, rocket scientists or not, Johnny Depp, he deduced that it was about him. And as a result of that, he wound up suing her for defamation. And she wound up countersuing him for defamation of her defamation. I raise your defamation with more defamation, or I raise your defamation suit with more defamation suits. Anyway, when it finally got to the trial was pretty fascinating. And that's when all of the drama and all of their baggage got put on display. For example, there were stories about Johnny Depp getting drunk and high and beating the crap out of her and breaking her nose, and stories about her attacking him and cheating on him and just lying in general on him. In the end, the jury ruled that she had defamed him, and that she had to pay him $15 million for punitive damages and compensatory damages, money that he might have lost as a result of his defamation. I also have to say that Johnny Depp had also sued a London newspaper because they also wrote that he was beating the crap out of her, but he lost that suit. But on this one, he did win and got awarded $15 million. Now she's going to appeal that. So another trial with more drama spilling out. So I look forward to that. But on the other side, they also ruled that not necessarily Johnny Depp, but Johnny Depp's attorney defamed her on his behalf. And as a result, they awarded her $2 million. So she has to pay him 15 million. I guess he can take the 15 million and say, okay, now that I got your 15, here's two of it back. I guess that's the way it works. And then there's more little stuff that's associated with it as well. It's like for one of the, I think for the $5 million award that the jury gave to her. How does it go in the state of California? The cap is only like $150,000. So I guess technically, realistically, he's been awarded $10,150,000, and she still is awarded $2 million. Now, with all of that said, 13 million, 10 million, 150,000, whatever it is, like I said, I don't really know a lot about Amber Heard, but I would think, and I feel comfortable in thinking that she does not have $13 million just lying around just to give to someone else. I didn't get the impression that she's big balling like that. I mean, just because you're a movie star and you might have some good money, to just be able to put your hands on $13 million or $10 million or however much just to hand over to somebody else, I would imagine. And then on top of it, you factor in attorney's fees and all of that. Whew, yeah, that's a rough one for her. She better win that appeal. But with all of that said, he was actually suing for $50 million. So when you look at it in that context, maybe 13 million or $10,150,000, maybe that's not even that bad. Yeah. Easy for me to say though. Shoot. Somebody sue me and get $10 million. Shoot, I'm gonna be off in the corner crying or something like that. Well, actually, I just filed for bankruptcy and I don't even know how bankruptcy works. Anyway, what's fascinating to me, going back to this whole relationship thing, forget the trial, what's fascinating to me is how many people that really don't know anything about either of these two people have such strong opinions one way or another. But I guess that's celebrities in general. On a side note, it reminds me of the time Michael Jackson was on trial for touching those kids, and I never saw so many people that was so passionate in defending him. I mean, they knew absolutely nothing about this dude, other than that, other than what they saw on TV and what they heard on records. But because he made music that they enjoy, he had to be innocent, right? Weird. And that's not even for me to say that he was guilty or innocent. I think just saying I don't know and just sitting on the sideline and watching it play out, I think that's fair, as opposed to like declaring that you know this dude as if you spend time and kick it with him and stuff like that. I don't know. He's dead. God rest the dead. I hope he didn't diddle those kids. I hope he didn't diddle those kids. Diddle, diddle, Diddle. Anyway, but when I think about that, that's what I think about these two. um the difference though in Michael Jackson and these two is that both of these people, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, are well known, so it makes the opinions even more polarizing. Like, men are saying that it's about time that we got some justice and all of this from all of these women that try to like paint us in a bad light and blah blah blah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and society just throws us under the bus blindly off of these women's words and all of this stuff. Now that's something that Reggie would say, and a lot of other dudes would say. And conversely, women are like saying that the jury verdict is further evidence that women still have a long way to overcome the grip that men have over society and oppressing women and blah blah blah. Now, I don't know Johnny Depp. And I don't know Amber Heard. I think that's the point I've been making in the last 5 minutes of talking. Just like I didn't know Michael Jackson. Never did. But I believe that both can be telling some truth, both sides of this issue. Both Amber Heard and Johnny Depp could be telling the truth. And I believe that both can be exaggerating a little bit. I think that's fair to say. For example, I've known a few people that drink and get high. I'm not saying any names. That's not fair. And because Johnny Depp, it's not something that's assumed or anything or alleged. Johnny Depp admits that he's had a drug and alcohol problem, so that's public knowledge. So he has gotten drunk and high in the past. And so from the, I don't know Johnny Depp, but from the people that I have known that might have had a tendency to get drunk and high from time to time, based on them, it's not really out of the realm of possibility that someone that might be drunken in a high state might become a tad bit violent from time to time. I'm just saying, especially if he's a Gemini. I'm sorry, Geminis. That was a cheap shot. That wasn't even necessary. I apologize, but it was still funny. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, watch those Geminis. Anyway, I've also known a woman or two that has initiated violence against men and women that have cheated on their significant others. Things happen in relationships, and unfortunately, not all of them are good. Also, supporters on both sides can be right when talking about the ramifications of this verdict. I mean, men, excuse me, men have been victims of being wrongly accused of things in the past, and this could show that they should fight to defend themselves. Conversely, again, this verdict could discourage women from coming forward because of the verdict. But here's one of my issues, though, from Amber's standpoint. I'm calling her Amber like I know her, but here's one of my issues. And this is the issue that I had on one of the episodes of the podcast when I talked about T.I. and his wife being accused of drugging and raping women back in the day. I don't even remember what episode that was, but go back and listen to all of them and tell 50 friends to tell 50 friends. What Amber is alleging and what T.I.'s accusers were alleging is criminal. The proper way to react to criminal behavior isn't to go on Instagram as T.I.'s accusers did, or write an op-ed in the Washington Post if you're Amber Heard. Now, if she'd gone to the police instead of the newspaper looking for justice, then we'd be having a different discussion here. Because what makes this bad is that this is being judged from the standpoint of who's a bad person instead of whether a crime was committed and should this person be prosecuted for possible jail time. Because people don't agree with your opinion, it shouldn't be seen as discouraging women from talking about abuse. I mean, she wrote an op-ed. An op-ed is short for opinion piece. So because people don't agree with that opinion, women shouldn't see that as, well, I should never speak because a woman wrote an opinion piece in a newspaper and got in trouble for it. If anything, I'd hope that it tell women not to handle abuse in that way. Yeah. But instead, go to the proper authorities when a crime is committed against you instead of social media or a newspaper. I mean, if Johnny Depp did what he's accused of, what she accused him of, an op-ed or bad mouthing him in public, that's not justice. That's not even close. He deserved a whole lot more than that. He actually deserved jail time. And she was claiming that he blacked her eyes and broke her nose. Now, it's interesting in the trial. It was found to be strange that she had all of these pictures to back up her claims of abuse, but the only pictures that she had were of like red marks on her arms where it is assumed that he grabbed her in a forceful way and left bruising on her skin. But even with that said, um, that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. Like I said earlier, it's not being. Hold on, let me back up for a second. Yeah, the point that I'm trying to make though is that if a dude blacked your eyes and broke your nose, you probably should take pictures of that as opposed to your arms being reddened. Yeah. But with that said, like I was saying earlier, just because she didn't have pictures of him blacking her eyes or breaking her nose, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. I don't know. I guess you don't run to grab a camera when that happens. I don't know how that works. Or maybe he didn't do it. I don't know how that works. I don't know. Yeah. Like I said earlier, I definitely don't want to give him a pass on this because, it's not beyond the pale to think that someone that's getting drunk and high might be a little bit aggressive in his anger. Like I said, I know a few people who've been drunk and high and been aggressive. They ain't black my eyes or break my nose, though. I'm not talking about like toward me, though. Yeah. That'd be a whole different episode of a podcast. Probably wouldn't have anything to do with dating, though. Even though these women, shoot, they punch hard these days. Anyway, but instead of making this like a referendum on women not being heard and all of that, it should be more of a referendum on what abused women need to do when they're being abused. And women should know that op-eds and social media aren't the solutions. That's the point I'm ultimately trying to make. abusers, they need to pay more than just in the court of public opinion. And as far as men feeling some form of validation because of this verdict, as a man, I I don't know that this is the case that I want to stand up and beat my chest on. I'm just saying, you know, sometimes we do get the short end of the stick, guys, but I don't know if I want to look at this and be like, hip, hip, hooray. I mean, yeah, I'm going to wait and find something a little bit more definitive than this. Yeah, yeah. Because ultimately, what it comes down to, I can't be beating my chest because I don't know if dude is guilty of what he's being accused of. And I don't know if he's innocent either. The only conclusion that I'm comfortable with in all of this foolishness is that that marriage might have been a mistake. Yeah, I think I can safely say that they probably shouldn't have got married. Yeah, yeah. Oops. Whoops. That's all for cigar. Anyway, that's all that I have to say. I just find the whole thing interesting from that standpoint that people just feel strongly one way or the other. And I don't really know that this is the one that we need to, this is not the hill that we need to gather on, whether you're a man or a woman. But with all of that said, it is what it is. All right, y'all. That's it for me. I'm Reggie. You got something to say? I know you didn't come in earlier when I asked you to, but I still want to give you another shot. What do you have to say about this? As I cough, sorry. Hmm. Yeah, he's got nothing as usual, as he hasn't over the past 60 or 70 episodes. But if you want to hear him, he definitely spoke freely in the first 50. So go back about a year and yeah, you'll find all of the glory of Reggie's opinions and things. But on that note, I think I'm done here. Yeah. I'm gonna go do something productive. Yeah. It doesn't involve marriage or getting drunk and high or beating people up or lying on people and cheating on somebody. Anyway, yeah, we'll find something constructive to do. All right, y'all. Yeah, bye.